Cadet Casares, she's a sophomore and plans to go into the Air Force. Cadet Henson. Cadet Henson plans to go to OU and then the Air Force. Cadet Snow is a freshman and plans to go in the United States Air Force. And Cadet Apple is a senior, plans to go to OSU. Don't get too excited. He plans to go in the United States Army. We've got some time to work on him. Turn him blue. They do. I agree. But anyway, again, welcome to the Midwest City Council. I would ask that you stand. Mr. Sullivan, would you offer the invocation, please?
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the beauty of this spring day, Father. We give you the glory and the honor for that. And we thank you so much for this council and their willingness to serve this great city. Father, we ask that you bless them in their decisions tonight. Give them discernment that only you can provide. And Father, we ask them to have peace in their decisions. Thank you so much for this great state and this great nation and those who are all over the world willing to defend our freedoms. And are at the ready as we speak. Father, give them peace and protection. Thank you so much for your son Jesus and the sacrifice that you both made on the cross for us. And we ask this in his holy name. Amen.
Amen. Go ahead and post the colors.
Lord, Mark. Colors. Present. Colors.
If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Colors. Ready. Step.
Let's give those young people a round of applause. It's always great to have them come and present the colors for us, and it just gives you confidence in the future of our great nation. These young people are willing to serve and go serve again. Again, welcome to the council meeting tonight. We've got one proclamation to do, and this is, I'm sorry? Do what now? A record, oh. I need a drink. It's been one of those days, ladies and gentlemen, be a fun council meeting tonight. Anyway, we got one proclamation to do, and this one is an honor. I've known this gentleman for a number of years, and but anyway, let's get on with it. Mr. Holland, will you join me up here? This is your day. Really? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gene Holland. Gene and his wife, Bobby, and their kids have lived in Midwest City for the better part of 50 years. They've been a pillar in the Ward 1 original square mile area. Everybody knows Bobby and Gene, and unfortunately we lost Bobby a couple of years ago. But they have been a great supporter of this city, in particular the Midwest City Police Department. And if you drive by their house, you can see that they're important and how they feel about the the city and the police department. So Gene, whereas Gene Holland has been a cherished resident of Midwest City for approximately 48 years, contributing significantly to the betterment of the community. And whereas Gene and his late wife Bobby shared over 30 years of love and companionship, and together played a pivotal role in the establishment of Atkinson Heights, one of the esteemed neighborhood associations that now comprises the original Mile. Whereas Gene selflessly donates food every couple of weeks to neighborhood services, ensuring their food pantry remains stocked for those in need. Whereas Gene is a well-organized figure in the community, known for his signature short sleeve attire year-round, and his steadfast refusal to part ways with his beloved flip phone. You really got a flip phone?
I don't have flip phone.
Oh. Okay. Whereas devoted companion Polly and a tiny Chihuahua and an extensive wardrobe which he adopted from the Midwest City Animal Shelter occupies him on his outings except when it's cold. Whereas Gene spreads kindness and joy by delivering candy and donuts to numerous establishments, including City Hall, which we don't need, Neighborhood Services, Community Center, First National Bank, American Diner, and Lowe's, all in the spirit of sweetening up the ladies, as Polly suggests. Now, therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim March 25th Gene Holland Day in the city of Midwest City, and in honor of Gene, and urge all citizens to join us in recognizing Gene for his invaluable contributions to our community and his dedication to our community. We got to get a party quick. Yeah, we open it. Let's open it up. There we go. All right, congratulations, Gene. Thank you for all you do.
Can I say something?
You bet. You have the floor, Mr. Holland.
I tell everybody, if you're not satisfied in Midwest City, I have to.
There you go. Punch that. It should turn green. Yep. There we go.
So,
No? We are having technical difficulty.
hello?
Just yell.
I like it.
There you go.
So I'm going to speak to this one because this fine gentleman lives in my ward. He and his late wife in particular are responsible for me sitting on this council because she and Gene got me involved in the Atkinson Heights Neighborhood Association, which is how I started getting involved in what I will call our community government in Midwest City. Bobby was one of the finest women you could ever have known, and Gene is one of the finest gentlemen that you could ever know. As the mayor said, he's always out to help improve the community and the neighborhood. He cares about the employees of Midwest City and thinks that Midwest City is the greatest place to live. And what he said is exactly true. If you don't like Midwest City, he'll be the first one to show up with boxes to help you pack. And I will just throw this in for a bit of humor. He likes me better than you, Mayor, because I am on the chocolate delivery route.
Oh,
Okay?
well.
If you don't know this, not only does
I'm
he take
disappointed,
care of
Gene.
the citizens or the city employees of Midwest City, but there are also people in the neighborhood that he routinely checks on. And since I live a few blocks away, I often, for holidays and whatnot, get deliveries of greeting cards and candy bars. So you wouldn't know a finer human being, and the same goes for Bobby, and our late Miss Roxy, who was always in the top line of dog attire. So I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you do, and God bless you.
I'll keep up the work for Midwest City.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're free to go, Gene. Unless you want to stay. Ladies and gentlemen, Gene and his family epitomizes neighborhood and community. And once again, him and Bobby have done more in this community than any two people I've ever known. And I've known them for a long time. And again, Gene, it's just a small token of our appreciation. And again, thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move into community-related announcements. Mr. Lyon.
I'm going to stay on the Gene Holland bandwagon here for a second as we go into announcements. I know my office, the city manager's office, we love seeing Gene come to visit because he always brings us donuts, and he brings good donuts too. So thank you, Gene, for your acts of kindness. We appreciate you. Okay. First announcement, each year the Journal Record awaits its top building projects in 10 different categories. Midwest City was extremely fortunate to have not one, but two projects this year named to this list. The American Glass Project over in the Soldier Creek Industrial Park was named one of the top 2 industrial projects for 2025. And Rose State College Tannenbaum Aerospace and Cybersecurity Center was named the top educational project for 2025. So looking forward to Thursday and seeing those awards handed out from the Journal Record. So great job to staff and all those involved with those two projects. Join us for the Ultimate Family Fun Day at Covered in Color. It's Saturday, April 5th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the WP Bill Atkinson Park, which is at Sooner Town Center. It'll be filled with vibrant colors, exciting activities, endless joy at the Covered in Color event, perfect for families, friends, and kids of all ages. This event has something for everyone. Children's activities, local food trucks, adopt a pet, music, cover a cruiser, touch a truck, support local businesses at the vendor marketplace. So please get that on your calendar. If anyone would like to volunteer, volunteers are welcome for this event. The VITA program is still assisting with free federal and state tax preparation at the community center Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 a.m. to 5 p.m. by appointment only. And finally, just a shout out to the fire and first responders as we faced the big wind and low humidity, and this time of year grass burns really easy. So appreciate all those, not just in Midwest City, but in our surrounding metro area around Midwest City, all the first responders that battled the blazes. We went out and helped some other cities as well. So just don't say very often how much we appreciate those guys. Okay, that's all it.
If I could, I didn't hear this, maybe I just blocked it out, but the park cleanup this weekend?
Park cleanup. I don't think anybody.
It's for ESA Park, Omni Park, Quinlan Park.
I know we have a park cleanup coming up. We'll hear that from Carrie.
Yes, ma'am. This Saturday from 8:30 until 12:30, we are cleaning up 3 parks and hoping to have lots of volunteers. We started a Sign Up Genius about a month ago, and we already have 90 people signed up. So if you come to Charles Johnson at 8:30 on Saturday, we'll do a little safety briefing, and then we'll split everybody up to go to the parks. We'll clean up for a couple hours and then come back to Charles Johnson. And thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. They will provide lunch for our volunteers.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for catching that. All right.
That it? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we move in our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that the council members, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items. Are we good? By one motion. If any council member requests to discuss an item, it will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to second Susan's motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We move into our discussion items. Discussion item number 1, Mr. Lyon.
Public hearing with discussion, consideration, of possible action to approve a resolution declaring the structure or structures located at 820 Askew Drive, a dilapidated building as defined in Midwest City Ordinance, Section 9-3, and abatement according to municipal code, and setting dates to demolish and remove the structure from the site. Mr. Stroh.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. You guys have the agenda item in front of you, and pictures are produced above. I'm happy to answer any questions. The house has been vacant since, no utilities since 21. The owner is deceased. There's over just under $3,600 worth of liens on it from us from maintaining it, so. It
There's
is
no
open.
questions. Chair to entertain a motion.
I make a motion
Oh,
to
I'm sorry.
approve.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council concerning this agenda item?
Can I just ask a question? Any relatives or anybody attempt, okay, thank you.
No, ma'am.
Councilwoman, I would just also say this piece of property has been problematic as far as neighbors' complaints for a long time. So respectfully, it's time that we do something with it. So I move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries, and I close the public hearing. Item number 2, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2204, public hearing, discussion, and consideration, possible action on an ordinance to redistrict from planned unit development to simplified planned unit development for the property located at 1644, 1650, 1656, 1662, 1668, and 1674 Midtown Place, Midwest City, Oklahoma. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. This is a rezoning application. The applicant is seeking an SPUD zoning with underlying high-density residential. The applicant's looking to build similar units. They won't look exactly alike, but similar units to the ones that they did immediately to the west of this site. If this ordinance is approved, the applicant could proceed with pulling building permits. There's no additional platting that would be required. Both state and local notification requirements were met. Staff did receive one phone call about this application, but there was no opposition or support issued. It was somebody just wanting to know what was going on with the application. There were no comments from the public at the hearing before the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of this item.
Patrick, it looks good. I drove by there today. I have one question, though. That's another 80 units, I think, total is what the plan is. Traffic, getting in and out of that place is a hot mess. So adding another, 80 units to it. Are there any plans to update ingress and egress to that thing, and adding a new light or doing something with the roads?
Yeah, there's no immediate plans. The unfortunate reality with transportation planning is, we would always do a study before we would implement any, signals or other improvements, but also B, usually the numbers won't bear out until after, the traffic is there. if that makes sense. So
Makes sense.
in terms of
It's
turn lane
unfortunate,
warrants and things
but
like that,
It
yeah.
makes sense. All right, thank you.
And there's 2 access points, right? Douglas and 15th Street.
Yes, that's correct.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring forward council concerning this item? Hearing and seeing none, chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2208, public hearing, discussion, consideration, and possible action to consider approval of the final plat of Eagle Landing for the property described as a tract of land lying in the southeast quarter, section 6, township 11 north, range 1, west of the Indian Meridian. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. This is a final plat, so this application came before you all as a preliminary plat back in 2023. And what the applicant is looking to do with this plat is to create 16 residential lots, 2 commercial lots, and then there would be 1 common area lot that would be where they place the stormwater detention feature would be located. All the zoning and engineering requirements have been met on this plat. They did note on the plat that there's a limit of no access along Lynn Fry Boulevard, and site-proof screening will be required between the existing commercial buildings and the residences prior to building permits being issued. The applicant has satisfied the parkland dedication. They were approved to do fee in lieu of parkland dedication, and that fee has been paid at the time that they filed this application. State and local notification requirements were met, and staff has received no comments from the public in support or opposition, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this item.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council concerning this item? Hearing or seeing none, chair to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 4, Mr. Lyon.
MP 00020, public hearing, discussion, consideration, and possible action of approval of the minor plat of Sooner Rose 2, second edition for the property described as Olive Lot 2 and Block 2 of Sooner Rose 2, in addition, Sooner Rose 2 addition, and addition to the city of Midwest City, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, according to the recorded plat thereof. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. This is a minor plat to create an additional lot in the Sooner Rose development. The plat, while there are several easements that sort of cross this portion of the development, the plat does comply with all of our requirements from a zoning and engineering perspective. And in addition, we did comply with all local and state notification requirements. There were no public comments received on this application, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of this item unanimously.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council concerning this item? Hearing or seeing none, chair to entertain a motion.
I have some concerns that I'd like to address with this first, please. So, walk me through this a little bit better, Matt, because, I know it's in the packet, but I'm a little confused and I'm a little concerned because we've had trouble filling that space at Sooner Rose for leasing. And so, are we going to be building on this location? I know it's another track essentially, but help me understand what's happening. Sorry.
As far as the leasing and building, it doesn't particularly change the available buildable area for the development, and I'm not sure how it impacts their leasing. But really, what they are sort of subdividing the northern part of this from the southern part. So both sides will still have road access. Both sides still have, available utilities.
Okay, but again, if we subdivide this as is proposed, how does that impact the track that runs down 12th Street all the way back to Sooner, essentially what's on the west side? Does that have any impact on that?
It's possible that it may have impact on it.
You know,
I would
Robert,
say as far
Gil-
as traffic, it still has access to 15th Street though.
There are there's two tracks between this parcel and Sooner Road. We own the middle track, which is just a little bit under 4 acres, which we have a prospect for, and that prospect may also take this track. Nothing is written, you may hear about it later this month, I hope, but it may include that track. They're not breaking that off just for this prospect. It kind of all came together at one time. They can still build on this. They'll have to observe the same setbacks or fire protection that would normally be needed for a permit. So it really doesn't affect the outcome of that lot.
I'm just struggling with this because, like I say, we have not had full occupancy in Sooner Rose 2. There was an addition to Sooner Rose 3 that was supposed to be undertaken and has never been undertaken. And so now, it's also my understanding that the street-facing lots are more lucrative and easier to maintain tenants on. And this thing is at the back, down what is essentially a residential street, if you will, because it goes into the residences. It's not really used ideally for traffic coming from Sooner Rose 1, 2, or 3, ideally. I know it gets some, but I'm just struggling with this process. So if anybody on this council wants to put in your 2 cents worth about this, I'm not viewing this favorably as my bottom line.
If I were a business person, that's exactly the lot I would want. It's directly across the street from the Warren Theater on 2 major and fairly unused paved access streets to Sooner and to 15th. And it's got plenty of room to develop around it. So if I were a restaurant owner and I wanted to capture all the people coming out of the movies, that's where I would want to be.
Well, but the problem with that, in my opinion, Councilman, is that white area right there on that corner, right catty corner across from the theater, is a prime restaurant spot.
Yeah?
It's been a prime restaurant spot, empty, since Sooner Rose 2 went up.
It may be, but there's 15 others that are full. And so, you know, maybe it's just not big enough. And this one certainly is big enough for the kind of restaurant that might be interested in it. Like I said, I think it's a viable option. And so anything we can do to make it more sellable, I'm in favor of.
Well, I think it's also a situation where it's unfortunate when we have land immediately to the east that's part of Sooner Rose 3 that's never been developed, that skirts right off of 15th Street and Buena Vista, essentially, and has access there that could be developed. And we're going to instead try to build on the backside, which is right up against the residential area. And again, if that entire, help me, Robert, what's the total acres from Sooner across to the Regal? 12?
No, it's not that many, and there's another party that owns the frontage at Sooner and 12th Street, and we've tried to work on a joint development with them, and they want to build apartments, and we don't want apartments. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with the 5 acres closest to Sooner Road. You may remember when we were going through the public hearings on SR1 and SR2 that there was an agreement not to use 12th Street unless somebody brought it up. They added a lane all the way down, and that is, at least with the developer we're talking to right now, that's not the intent. There is a right of egress across the proposed lot that will get our lot back to the driveway that leads to Warren and 15th Street.
How many different owners are involved in this? Us? I don't have a name, but we're owners of one.
We own the lot that's directly behind Burlington all the way over to just about a fourth away west of the east wall at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Okay, how many other people or businesses or entities own the rest of that property? Is it 1 or 2?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
How many, we own part, now who owns the other part? You don't have to name them, but how many other owners are there on this property?
I think the parcel closest to Sooner, roughly 5 acres, is owned by a party out of Norman. And then our tract, which is in the Hospital Authority property,
Correct.
property inventory, I believe. And then what you see right now with the red stripes, which is owned by SRT.
Okay, so we have 3 different property owners.
True.
If we approve this, is that gonna help you get, not promises, but is that gonna make it better for you to be able to market that property there and get people to put something there that's profitable to the city?
I'm not making any guarantees it'll happen, Vice Mayor, but without having that tract for parking, because this is a pretty good sized use, it's going to be difficult to park the development as they've got it drawn right now.
So it would assist what you're trying to do, is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
Any other questions of Mr. Coleman? Chair to entertain a motion. I announced that, didn't I? Yeah, I announced that. Chair to entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Eads.
No.
Byrne.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Vanna. Dukes.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Item number 5, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2206, public hearing discussion, consideration and possible action on an ordinance to redistrict from planned unit development to medium-density residential district for the property described as a tract of land located at 2222 North Douglas Boulevard, Midwest City, Oklahoma. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. This is a rezoning application. The applicant is seeking a medium-density residential zoning district for the site. The site was zoned to PUD several years ago, but the master plan for that PUD expired in 2021. So sort of what the owner is left with right now is a site where they would either need to rezone it to something else or come back to council with a new master plan or even the same master plan and seek its approval again. The applicant, which is the owner in this case, has sought to just rezone the property to a base RMD zoning district with none of that flexibility that you would typically see with a PUD. The conceptual layout in the plan does show that the site, would be of a size and have road access that would be able to handle an apartment. This application, if approved, would not restrict the applicant to apartments. They could do any of the uses that are allowed in the RMD zoning district, including single-family homes, duplexes, townhomes, or apartments. There are some other uses as well in the zoning ordinance that would be allowed. But if they went with a residential use, they would be allowed to develop at a density of up to 20 units per acre. The site does abut an arterial road, and there's public transportation. There's a stop that's just south of the subject property. The comprehensive plan does support medium-density residential on this site, and it's located in such in a place where there is somewhat convenient access, by car or walking to commercial shopping centers and restaurants. Both state and local notification requirements were met. At the time that the staff report was written, we had not received any phone calls or emails regarding this application. There was one surrounding property owner who addressed the Planning Commission in opposition to the application, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council concerning? Please approach the podium, and when you get here, give your name and address, ma'am.
Hi, Gina Johnson, 9013 Northeast 19th, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Midwest City. Good evening, and thank you for hearing me. I'm here representing the residents in that area. There are more people here, but they chose me to speak. We did have a signed petition. All the residents signed it. We even went down to the senior community center, who, they cannot sign it because they don't own those, but they do not want the apartment complex, and it will affect them. We're not opposed to it being developed. We're opposed to apartment complex or multi-dwellings. As the gentleman, I believe his name was Robert, said, we don't want apartments there. He just spoke our thing. We are aware that it was once a mobile home park. That's been over a decade ago. If I remember correctly, it's been empty for many years. And even with it being a mobile home park, those are considered single-family dwellings, and they did not affect the traffic flow the way an apartment complex will. It's already dangerous to pull out on Douglas heading south. The people fly over those tracks. There is an incline, you cannot see them. As we all know, traffic has increased since that mobile home park's been there. One of our neighbors I was talking to, Mr. Goodson, who is here today, he has to drive through his yard to be able to pull out onto Douglas because it is too dangerous. Apartment complexes are statistically higher in crime rate than other areas, than housing areas. We're already a high crime area. Why would we want to make it worse and put that much more of a burden on our police, fire, and ambulances? We would embrace another senior living center there. We love the one we have at the end of our street. It's off of 16th, but it abuts our street. There's a need for the senior communities, as there is a waiting list at most of them, and our senior population is growing. I am proof of that. Do we need more apartment complexes? Is there a waiting list for those? I don't think so. Apartment complexes are notorious for not keeping up their properties. We don't need that. As you yourself said at this council meeting when I was here last time, 23rd Street and the American Glass Company is the front door of Midwest City. Those were your words. Why not bring in some businesses on our side of Midwest City that we can use, that we can go to? I don't recall, build it up like you did 29th Street. I don't recall one apartment complex on 29th Street. Zone it for something that's wanted, needed, and useful to the residents that it will impact. Lastly, I believe another apartment complex would be a huge deterrent in ever getting us annexed into Middale School District. We don't have any of those benefits over there of the good school districts. Please, please do not give us the bad of the Midwest City. Give us the wonderful things that Midwest City gives back to its residents. We honestly feel like we have been the unwanted family members for many years until Sarah came in and gave us a voice. We didn't have that voice before. I speak knowingly of this. I talked to our prior council member. She didn't want to hear us. Sarah listens. She hears us. Please do not vote this in. We do not need another apartment complex.
Ma'am, you understand that this isn't a plat, it's just a rezoning.
I understand, but this is the first step.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking your time to address us.
Is the property owner here?
I'm sorry?
Is the property owner present?
Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm Eric Massad. I don't own the property. I'm just here to represent. I'm the commercial real estate broker on the property.
Do you know what the long-term goal is for this property?
We don't have a long-term goal. We're just here to zone it so it will be more marketable.
Okay, so would that be, there's an intention to potentially sell it?
Yeah, the goal is to sell.
Okay, so that's the actual intent, is to
That's the goal.
rezone to sell?
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you don't have a preferred type of a buyer with a plan, it's just whoever comes up to buy?
Yeah, whoever comes up. It's hard to market this property when it's an expired PUD, so
Yeah.
any zoning really, but this is what we applied for.
Thank you. Can I ask some questions, Mr. Summers? And I'm sorry if you stated this during the your intro there. So what is the current zoning for the property?
The current zoning is PUD. It's just that with an expired master plan, building permits cannot be issued for it unless they either rezone it to a different zoning district or get a new master plan approved for the site.
So if this property was sold in the near future, the new owner could come in here and zone it for what they would like to do, right? So no one's trying to build anything on that site as of right now.
To my knowledge, no, but yes, that's correct. No one is looking to build, tomorrow. They don't have the concept. My understanding is that the concept plan that's in here is a concept. The current owner does not intend to actually build what's shown there.
Okay. And will you just, to educate me a little bit here, so a PUD is a planned unit development, and they're asking for a medium-density residential district. Can you distinguish the difference between the two?
A PUD is more of a zoning overlay. It always has an underlying zoning district. So like some of the ones that we've heard in the last couple months, they're with a PUD as that overlay, they're allowed to seek certain amounts of flexibility from council, usually in exchange for providing some sort of additional amenity to the community or innovative design, things like that. But anything that they don't alter always falls back to the uses and design guidelines in that underlying zoning. Whereas with this RMD zoning that they're requesting, anything that the ordinance says is allowed in that zoning district, they could do. Anything that, any requirements as far as building heights or setbacks, they would have to abide by.
Gotcha. And so at this point, a property owner could either submit a new master plan or rezone the property, and a master plan would be to bring forth the concept of what they plan on doing. Would that be a correct interpretation?
And that's really specific to the owner, so they could potentially bring back the same one. They could bring a different master plan. It really kind of depends on what they would be looking to do with the site. The tricky part with, if they had tried to bring a new master plan and really with only the intention of selling the property, they'd kind of run into a tricky spot where, unless they found a buyer looking to do that exact thing that they showed on the master plan, they would really have a hard time selling the property at that point as well.
Gotcha. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is all being done because the current property owner requested the zoning, but, so I know that I've received a few calls about this, and I know this is exactly in that neighborhood where a few months ago, another property was trying to develop, I believe, some multi-unit residential, and I know that there was an outpouring from that community saying we would prefer that there be single-unit residential. And so I think that's where the concerns come. It's that same community that is here for the same cause once again. I think if I had an idea of what the future for this property would look like, and a property owner that was before us asking, then there would be a layer of accountability. I get the perception as somebody owns the property, they'd like to get rid of it, and they'd like to zone it for something that's easier, and God knows what the new property owner would like to do with it. And so I think, given the fact that I live in Ward 5, where we do have many duplexes that are unfortunately not taken care of the way we should by mass property owners, and apartments that have a history of issues, one that closed down that has yet to be rejuvenated, right? It's fenced up. I think that I would like to uplift the voices of the residents and the taxpayers who have lived there for many years versus to accommodate a potential new property owner who wants to sell fast. So with that, I'd like to move to reject this item.
Can I clarify? I want to clarify one thing too, and correct me between the two of y'all if I'm wrong. Sarah made a comment that we had another development that was gonna, what she's referring to, I think, is the one that was on the west side of Douglas Boulevard. And I think the biggest issue that some of us, or I'll speak for myself, the biggest issue I had with that one was that we were gonna force some of the people in that development were gonna be forced into the neighborhood to exit. Is that not correct? Because they were gonna have to put in the second exit to get out of there, because they couldn't just have the exit on Douglas. They were gonna have to go into the neighborhood the way it was set up.
If I remember correctly, I do believe that there were two entrances. I think
But one of them was into the neighborhood.
one of them was on 17.
Which was,
Yes.
that was no way. But I think the difference, if I look at this one, if this was to come back to us, if we rezone it, or approve the rezoning and it comes back to us, that's when we can be restrictive on what goes in there as far as the setbacks, the fences, all that, correct? We would get another bite at the apple on that, correct?
So if this was approved, they would come back to plat the lot, since it is unplatted, and it is very likely they would need utility easements, if nothing else. But as far as the building itself, if they abided by the setbacks and the heights in the R&D zoning district, you probably would not see it come back before you. They would be able to apply for building permits as long as it complied with our regulations.
What the one person's talking about is the houses are to the south. So there would be no way we would be able to guarantee that there'd be site proofing or a buffer or anything on that?
I mean, the zoning ordinance, already requires certain amounts of screening between multifamily and single-family zoning districts. So I think there would be some of that provided. You wouldn't necessarily be able to specify additional screening at that time.
It's because right now there's the houses, there's a railroad track and a railroad easement on both sides. And then on the north side of the railroad track, there's significant growth of trees that would be a huge buffer if it was allowed to
Yeah.
stay. But you're saying we really wouldn't have any control over making them leave those in?
No, I mean, there are certain parts of the ordinance that would encourage them to preserve some of those trees, but we might not be able to tell them exactly that those trees on the southern boundary would have to remain.
I have a question,
Yes.
just for clarity. If we do not approve, first of all, this came before us on the agenda because the owners wanted us to rezone that area,
Yes.
okay? And we have no say-so if they sell it, what's gonna happen to it at this point. They could build more apartments.
If the zoning is approved, they could pull permits to build apartments, yes.
I concur with Sarah. I don't know if we need more apartments in that area. And for several reasons. My children in that area that goes from 4th Street all the way north, they go to Oklahoma City Public Schools. And right now, there's a dead zone. Our kids are not receiving the services that other parts of Midwest City is receiving. So that's just my thoughts on it, and
Ms. Summers, clarify something for me
Yes.
in the audience. What does medium density mean?
A medium density, it allows for a variety of types of residences, single-family duplexes, townhomes, apartments. It allows for a density of up to 20 units an acre.
20 units an acre.
And can I also, to some of the questions the vice mayor had, and I think they were valid, good questions, is there's a paragraph here that says that the subject property is currently vacant and the conceptual plan provided by the applicant shows 7 buildings totaling 112 dwelling units. So the concept as of right now is potential apartments or duplexes, right? And so I'm assuming the next property owner will potentially be interested in developing, mass number of units for profit.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I don't know who the
Yeah.
eventual buyer would be, but that would be possible.
I think the residents who live there, including myself, I'm off of Northeast 10th, it's my community, is if the new property owner bought the property and came before us and said, I'd like to zone it for multi-unit, and this is what my purpose is, and then at that point, we could have the conversation the vice mayor was just trying to have, well, we'll approve it, given that you keep the trees. That would ensure that there is better understanding versus zoning it with the hope that somebody cooperative buys it and
Yeah.
isn't interested in profit, but rather is invested in the long-term needs of our community. So with that, I would like to, once again, make the motion to reject this item. Mayor.
I have a motion.
Well, I have one question for Patrick. Can we amend the application so that it's zone single-family residences only instead of medium density?
We'll defer
At
that.
this time, no, you cannot. This is the request of the applicant. If you zone it something more restrictive than a PUD that it is currently zoned at, that could be viewed as a taking without just compensation and result in us being in litigation.
Very
Also,
good.
As a matter of order, or point of order, I do have a motion and a second.
respectfully, everybody else got to talk. Can I just say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here's my concern. I appreciate the residents' comment, and I understand the desire in particular to get single-family residences in that area, as the two councilwomen have spoke to. Here's my concern, though. When I read what was provided by staff, the area of request is vacant. On the north, there is Store Local Storage, a commercial business. On the south, there is Starview Heights Addition, which is the residential area, but again, it has that heavy screening in the area where Councilman Byrne had pointed to. On the east, there's an auto zone and a vacant lot. On the west, there's an on-queue, a Store Local Storage, A1 Accounting and Tax Service. So to me, this is a lot that in particular is surrounded by lots that are of a commercial purpose and commercial buildings. And just my opinion, but I think it would be really difficult to get a builder to come in here and want to build single-family units on this lot. So I appreciate what's being discussed as far as having the applicant come forward with a more detailed plan. But again, given what the applicant is asking of us at this point, there's no further detail required at this point. Is that fair, Matt?
Yes, I mean, since they are requesting one of our, just sort of, as we would call it, a base zoning district, we wouldn't typically ask for additional screening. We would analyze the site, the transportation available to it, the uses around it, how it fits with the comprehensive plan, things like that. So yes, I would agree with that.
And there is nothing that would prohibit the future property owner to do this very process, provide additional information. I mean, from the way that I see it, do I weigh in the urgency of one property owner who wants to sell their property fast, or do I weigh in the voices of the people who have resided there? I haven't received a single call from that community or those businesses saying, sell this property so we can develop apartments there. However, in opposition, I have received multitudes of concerns, not just about this particular development, but there's history about what the community at large would like to see there. Now, is that exactly what we're gonna end up doing? I don't know. I think there needs to be some cooperation with what the staff recommends, but I don't understand the urgency to approve this zoning, given the fact that this property owner is not even intending to maintain this property long-term.
I know, but we've historically often approved things that seem quite disparate, like putting mixed-use property in traditionally residential areas and so forth. So I understand where you're driving, and I appreciate the fact of they could try to sell it, but again, right now, it's laying fallow.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a properly formed motion and a second. We do have the young lady that wants to come and address the council, and I'll use executive privilege and allow her a couple of minutes to explain herself.
Thank you. I'd like to speak about the grove of trees you're talking about. It's not a grove of trees, it's overgrowth. It's not a grove of trees, sir. I live there. I know.
I didn't get out and walk.
Huh?
I didn't get out.
It's overgrowth. There's not a grove of trees. There's not a screen of trees. It's overgrowth. That's all it is. I do live there. My husband has to go back behind our fence and cut it down so that it doesn't tear our fence down. And it's the same way on it's the same way on both sides. It's overgrowth. It is not a grove of trees. It's not even a grove of cedar trees, which nobody wants anyway, because they go up like bombs. But it's not like a nice grove of trees or forest. It's overgrowth, brambles, Oklahoma sticker bushes. It's not, I promise you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
But I didn't get on Milwaukee because I didn't want to find any code violations back there.
Well, you would.
Once again, I do have a properly formed motion and a second. And I'll suspend discussion and go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Okay, the motion is to reject. Susan Eads? No. Byrne?
Okay, if we vote yes, that means we reject.
Correct.
Yes.
Maxwell? Yes. Thompson?
Yes.
Banna? Dukes?
Yes. The motion to, or, the item fails, young man, and you'll have to come back before council with another plan. That being said, we move to item number 6.
PC 2207, public hearing, discussion, consideration, and possible action to consider a special use permit to allow eating establishments, sit-down alcoholic beverages permitted in the C3 Community Commercial District for the property located at 2113 South Air Depot Boulevard. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. As you mentioned, this is a special use permit application request. The applicant is seeking to allow alcoholic beverage sales at an eating establishment, at a sit-down eating establishment. The site is currently zoned C3, which does not allow this by right. There is a little bit of history with this site and its current development. You know, we know in the staff report that there was unpermitted work that was done on the site. There was water usage before a utility account was established. The building was being occupied before the CO was issued. And along the sort of application process, staff has been told different things about how the property was going to be used and the type of operations that were going to be had at the site. The applicant was advised by staff that, you know, what would seem to fit their building layout and proposed use better would have been for them to request a special use permit for a drinking establishment rather than an eating establishment that would allow drinking. And I would note in the staff report as well that the Midwest City Police Department was contacted by the Able Commission regarding some irregularities with an application. We did comply with all state and local notification requirements. Staff did receive one phone call from an owner of a surrounding property as well as an email which is attached along with the staff report, and both were in opposition to this application. The Planning Commission did hear this item and unanimously recommended denial.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any further follow-up to the conversation where Mr. Ching, the owner, application with Able contained false information and the question regarding his true identity?
I would defer to the police department on that.
Chief?
Good evening. I spoke with Director Klebs today about this application and the process, and what he told me is that the application has not been completed. There were several things in there that caused them concern, and it is still under investigation.
Sounds like a really good reason for us to deny this application to me, and I'm gonna move to deny it. I understand it's a public hearing, but please note my motion.
Hold on to that. This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have anything to bring before council concerning this item?
My name's Todd Waddell. I'm an attorney. I represent Star KTV, which is the LLC that owns this property. It is owned by John Chang. It is operated in management, and the construction is by Mr. Jin Wang. I even had to get educated on this a little bit. This is not, I think, the way it's been presented. I think everybody thinks that this is a bar with a little place where you do karaoke on the side. This is a top-tier karaoke venue. This is not a restaurant where you go and sit down and maybe decide to do karaoke. There are about 10 to 12 rooms within this karaoke venue, and you book those rooms. You pay an hourly fee for those rooms. They have outfitted each one of those rooms with the latest technological innovations that you would have for a karaoke room. My client has probably invested at this point probably $500,000 in that venue. I know there were some questions about the sound barrier. I only was retained really on Saturday, and I've tried to contact some local engineering labs that would do sound testing, but I've been there personally, and they've had it cranked up, and you can't hear it past the first door. There is a door and a foyer that you walk in through, and then another door, and then past that, each one of the rooms, interior rooms on the inside, have doors. And each one of those rooms, in order for the establishment to work, has to be soundproof, because you don't want music from one room to bleed over into the other. And I have some materials that we can submit.
Let me interrupt. This doesn't have anything to do with sound or anything outside the building. It has to do with the fact that they want to serve alcohol.
No.
And they have not completed the process to be able to get their alcohol license. So, with that being said, the sound outside will be a whole new, different story. We need to get past this application to sell alcohol. So
I understand and I agree. It's just that he raised it in his presentation that there was an owner next door, the veterinary hospital raised that sound would be an issue.
I see.
And that's the only reason that I brought that up, is because that was raised.
I
With
understand.
regard to the ABLE commissioner, absolutely correct. I don't know the particulars of it, and I can't address it right now because I've just been retained. So I would request that the application be continued until I'm able to sufficiently find out what the issues are with the ABLE Commission, because as I understand it, the predicate for you issuing the special permit is the alcohol license from the ABLE Commission. And you're absolutely correct. We do not have it at this time. I don't know what the particulars are, but I would like an opportunity to work that out and then come back before the council.
Well,
Mr.
respectfully,
Maish?
counsel, I think your client's got the entire cart before the horse on this whole project. And based on how you're describing this, I would also question the ability for sustainability for that business in that location in my ward because of the parking aspect of it, like based on the occupancy you're anticipating, et cetera. But all I'm focused on right now is your client has moved ahead with building and developing without having the proper permits in place. They want to serve alcohol in this. Their ABLE license has not went through. And so, once again, I'm going to re-urge my motion to deny it.
Can I ask a question?
Well, let me note one thing before. Understand one thing about ABLE. We would have to issue the special use permit before the ABLE Commission would issue a permit. But the ABLE Commission did reach out to us uniquely and individually, saying that they had concerns about the application as it currently sits.
And the identity of the owner.
And that is under investigation. But I do want to clear up one thing. We do have to, for them to get their ABLE permit, we would have to issue the special use.
Can I ask a question, Don? If denied tonight, would the gentleman and his attorney be able to submit a subsequent application once, if ABLE ever approves? Or I guess ABLE couldn't approve it based on your definition.
Could they reapply at some point in time? Yes, we'd have to look and see if there is a time frame, a buffer period between the denial and when a new permit could be issued. We do have some ordinances that say that there's a 6-month buffer in there. I don't know specifically about this one. I know that the 6 month is the outside window that it could be.
Gotcha.
So.
Can I,
Mr.
thank you, I think, go ahead, sir.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Maish, I just have a question. The prior two entities that were in that building prior to what my client has been in there, which I think was maybe Leanne's Bistro or a bistro and the sports bar, official sports bar and grill, were each of those issued a special use license so that they could have an alcohol permit?
I do not know seriously, I do not know the answer to that question. I would have, that would be something we'd have to research, I do not know. But if they were able to serve alcohol, they had to get a permit in some form or fashion from us to be able to do that.
But let me clarify something. The past two applicants has nothing to do with this current applicant. Each one's a new applicant.
This one is a new applicant, and yes, special use permits do run with the applicant themselves, they don't run with the property, so anytime you have a switch like that, they want to serve alcohol in this location, they would have to come and go through this very process.
I'm
I have
going
a
to.
question.
Go ahead, sir.
A couple of questions. They're operating now as a karaoke bar, is that correct?
They are not open at
They're
this
not
time,
open.
ma'am. But they can serve food and open as a karaoke bar.
They are currently
our
open?
karaoke venue, yes, ma'am.
Okay, then my second part of it is, are you asking us to give you another chance to come back and get this correct? Is that what you're?
Yes, ma'am.
To answer your question, I've just seen this in the staff report. It's on page 5 of the staff report of the history. Item number 2 says a special use permit for the bistro was approved by this council in September of 2021. The sports bar operated in conjunction with that and was operated in conjunction with that, and then the special use permit expired.
Okay. And I wasn't trying to tag on to those. I'm just saying there's nothing unique about the location of it.
Okay,
I fully understand.
Back to what I was asking. So you're asking for to come back and maybe fix all of this at
Yes,
another
ma'am.
time?
Yes,
What-
ma'am.
Is there a problem with that, or
That-
we can
Just
deny
so
the
you know,
application at this
To do that,
point?
that would require a motion to table by this body, and then it would be tabled until either the next meeting or with agreement until such time as that could occur.
I do believe,
Time out?
I do believe we have a motion on the floor,
Second.
and I've got a motion and a second.
Oh, no, God.
Can I make just a general, I think the concern is, one, my understanding from the memo was there had been a recommendation to your client to table this matter before it even went before planning, but my understanding is your client chose to proceed. So that's kind of an issue right there. The second issue, I think, is seems to be an allegation about the application that's going through ABLE. And I think any reasonable body, and to respond to Councilwoman Eads, there's been no charges filed, no one's been convicted, there's just a outstanding allegation. And in this country, we are innocent until proven guilty, and we do have the right to due process.
That's correct,
So I'm
ma'am.
not going to proceed with the assumption that anyone is guilty here. However, any reasonable body, given that assertion or allegation made, would need some conclusion to that, right? Whether there are some wrongdoings or there aren't, right? So I respectfully ask that if things clear up with ABLE and that misunderstanding hopefully is cleared up, that maybe you guys reconsider the application.
Okay, I will make a point of order. We do have a properly formed motion and a second. Go ahead and conduct a roll call.
Wait a minute, what are we voting on?
Motion to deny.
Motion to deny.
Eads.
Yes to deny.
Byrne.
Yes to deny.
Maxwell.
No.
Thompson.
No.
Banna.
No.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion fails, according to my math.
So you'd have to have a motion to table.
Would you make a motion to table, Ms. Eads?
No.
I make a motion to table.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table. Roll call vote.
Yeah.
Eads.
No to table.
Byrne.
No to table.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Banna.
Yes.
Mayor.
No. But the motion to table passes Sir, you'll get another bite of the apple.
How did you do that math?
Well, my math is off?
Yeah,
I never thought I'd say that, Mayor.
You're making fun of my Midwest City math.
Mr. Mayor, you now
I'm
have.
sorry.
You have three votes to table and 3 votes to deny table.
Oh, so we got a hung jury.
Yes, right now we are at an impasse.
Okay, what do we
Let Tim
do?
vote.
Hadn't run into this yet.
That's a darn good
This
question.
is a new one.
This is a new one. Let me consult.
So what was?
We have
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, 3 to 3.
3 to 3.
Those two, no.
What did you vote? Did you vote
Yes.
to table or not table?
Not taken.
Okay, so it's 3 to 3.
The one vote you have not had yet is a motion to approve. And obviously, if you have a motion to approve, unless it receives a majority, then it fails.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
I make a motion to,
learned counsel behind me just
Is that English?
reminded me of
English?
that.
make a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Hang on one second.
But everything's failed, the motion, it was 3 to 3, so it failed.
It was tabled. It failed.
Wait a minute, did we vote on the
To
tape?
deny, it was tabled.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 3 to 3.
Okay, if you're telling us that if we make a motion to approve.
Right.
And we vote it, and we don't pass it, it fails.
That is correct.
Even if it's tie vote?
Even if the tie vote fails because it did not receive a majority.
Make a motion to approve.
What?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Oh, I don't know what we're voting on. Approve?
Okay, I'll move to approve it.
I have a motion and I have a second. Roll call vote, please.
What are we
And I'll sit
voting
back here and count.
This is a.
Are we voting to table?
No, we're moving to approve it.
Motion to approve.
Which would need a majority to pass. But I guess my concern with that motion in general is the fact that the able issue.
Exercise of utility is what
Okay.
it is.
Yeah.
The exercise
But
is
it's the
just
legal
let
way we have to do
it
it.
die on the vine. That's where we're at it.
Are we ready?
Okay, I have a question. If it fails tonight, can they come back at a later date and submit an application? That's all.
Same thing they had procedurally when you have 7 members.
Okay.
And then action will be taken because you'll be able to. This doesn't happen that often, but it happens. And dying on the vine is the equivalent of the council taking no action, which would mean they would just resubmit, they don't have to wait 6 months because it wasn't rejected,
Okay.
but it wasn't passed.
And that was his request.
But basically, I mean, in my opinion, it's the same as if we don't go through this exercise. This is an
Well,
exercise of
if you
utility,
do
because
nothing-
if there's no, if we take no action on it, not to vote to take no action, if we just, there's no vote, it dies anyhow.
It dies no matter what you do.
Right.
If you don't take another vote, or if you take a vote and it's 3-3, it dies on the vine. It can be brought back at any time. You don't have to wait 6 months. Hopefully, it'll have an odd number of persons and the majority succeeds.
But we're gonna, that would be the case even if we withdrew our motion to approve it right now.
Unless
Because
something
there's,
changes.
Just take no
because,
action.
right, because there's a tie vote to reject it, and there's a tie vote about tabling it. So otherwise, it's essentially just gonna sit with no action taken on it. And it can come back exactly as it was written.
Yes, but somebody could change that vote.
So what's the pleasure of the council?
To let them come back later.
You have a proper motion and a proper second at this time. You are, unless you have a withdrawal of that motion and that second, you are obligated to take a vote. Given the fact that it has been a split vote, I would recommend it be a roll call vote.
As we do every time we have an opposition. Thank you very much.
Correct. Motion to approve.
So I do have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call vote, please.
Eads.
No.
Byrne.
No.
Maxwell. Thompson.
No.
Mayor. Oh, sorry, Banna.
I'm sorry, can you do a recall on that? Okay.
Motion to approve.
And procedural question though, if you're going to vote no on approving it, could you motion to approve it?
That was a question that was already asked of me. Somebody can make a motion to approve and then vote no.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
not bound by the fact that you brought the motion, even though you voted in different directions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally Robert's rules on this one.
Okay. Yes?
Mayor.
No.
Motion fails.
Motion failed.
There was actually 4 no votes, so
Four
in
no.
that
So the
situation,
motion
it
passes.
did fail.
So it's
The motion
disapproved.
passes to not approve.
Wait.
The motion
Four
passed.
no votes?
There was 4
Correct.
no votes, that is
If
correct.
there's 4 no votes, then they can't bring it back for 6 months.
Correct.
Mhm. There was 4 no votes.
Well,
Take that long to get it fixed now.
I want to thank you for exercising our
He wanted to come
rules. The motion failed to approve. You'll have to reapply in 6 months to come back. And you'll have to get with Mr. Summers or the staff to find out what the procedure is to do that, sir. And thank you for your patience.
He wanted to come back, and we did all of that, he wanted to come back.
That was fun.
It was
I said that was fun.
We did, he was gonna come.
And I fully expect everybody on the council to text Mr. Favors and chastise him for not being here.
Okay, done, done. Okay.
Item number 7, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action awarding the bid to and approving a contract with Innovative Mechanical for $245,000 to replace the HVAC equipment AHU 7 and AHU 11 at City Hall, with the project expected to be completed in 220 calendar days, and the City Council authorized the city manager to sign and execute the contract.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 8.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action awarding a bid to and approving a contract with Aquatic Renovation Systems in an amount not to exceed $237,135 for the installation of a new liner system in the large and small pools at the Reno Swim and Slide.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item number 9. Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration of possible action approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 12, regarding community center and senior center fees, approved by the Ordinance Review Committee. Approval by city required, Section 1262, advanced bookings and providing repealer and severability. Mr. Ryan.
Yes, Mayor and Council, thank you for your consideration on this item. This is a pretty large change for how we operate over at the community center. It includes fee increases, non-resident fee increases for renting the facility, and changes some rules for us on how we handle events that have alcohol. It changes our operation hours just a little bit to where we're not staying open so late on weekends, and also closing a little bit early on Sundays. And really don't think this will affect a lot of our regular users. We're actually hoping this helps more of our regular users to have the facility available to them, especially our residents who use the facility. So we're very excited about these changes and ask for your approval.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question. The police being on the sites, is that taken into consideration in the fee that we're asking people to pay, or is that extra?
They actually pay for the officers that are on site.
They pay extra?
They pay extra. They pay the officers directly.
Oh, okay.
They pay for that security.
Okay.
And that security does need to be a Midwest City police officer?
Off
Yes.
duty? Off duty, yeah.
We have them hire Midwest City police officers.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Item number 10, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 38 subdivision regulations, Article 7, relief in subdivision standards, Section 38-62 fees, subsection 3862.4 computation of fees, and providing for repealer and severability. Mr. Maish.
Good evening. I excuse my voice, laryngitis is coming in, so we'll see how well I do. This is a request, this has been a request that the city received to look at making or putting in a way to calculate, thank you.
Sidewalks.
Sidewalk, yeah, our sidewalk fee in lieu for driveways that have been poured to be able to calculate those out, provided they are ADA compliant. And as I said, this was a request that the city received to be able to do this. This was looked at by the Ordinance Review Committee and recommended for approval.
What was going on was when people were paying the fee in lieu of, they were paying the fee in lieu of on the whole property, and then they're pouring concrete for the driveway. And that was not fair that they were getting double charged.
They wanted us to exercise subtraction, basically.
Yeah.
So we voted on the ordinance review committee to go ahead and allow that subtraction to happen. And with that, I'm going to move to approve this item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 11.
Discussion, consideration, of possible action approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 9, Building and Building Regulations, Article 1 in general, Section 7-7, Code amended International Residential Code, Chapter 20, Housing Code, Article 1, existing structure, Section 20-2, Code amended and provided for repealing severability. Mr. Maish.
These ordinance amendments do basically two things. Number one, it was brought to my attention by Mike Stroh that his international code that he has adopted, they moved some of the provisions around, and so we needed to amend our ordinance concerning which ones we adopt by reference, and those that we do not, to mirror what Mike needed to be able to use his international code as an enforcement process. And then secondly, we had a request from both Rick and from Pat concerning looking at French drains and what is known in here as subsoil drains. And there are certain regulations or certain provisions within the international code that deal with that. And so we have added those in and adopted those. As basically, the provision is that you cannot take a subsurface drain and place it over so that it causes damage to your neighbor's property. And that's what these two items do. These were taken before the Ordinance Review Committee, and the Ordinance Review Committee recommended approval.
I just want to recognize and compliment Vice Mayor Byrne, because he was a strong advocate on the issue of not allowing the discharge of the water through the drains to deteriorate the neighboring property, and brought photographic examples for us that we used in the ordinance review meeting in discussing this item, and where you can see the actual damage that's occurring to neighboring properties because of the way the water flow is, the discharge of the water flow is allowed to occur. So, and with that, I want to move to approve this item.
Just so you're clear, we're not talking about sheet flow either. The natural flow of water, this is somebody putting in a French drain and putting a pipe in their neighbor's yard. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 12, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 9, Buildings and Building Regulations, with the multiple sections listed, and providing for repealer severability and establishing a process for future action on boards, committees, and commissions. Mr. Maish.
Thank you. This is the next step in our boards, committees, and commissions. If you recall, during our January meeting, the City Council, through its consensus, asked for the sunsetting of certain ones, and we did that last meeting. This meeting takes the three boards that we had, which are the builder's board, the electrical board, and the plumbing and mechanical boards, and combines them into one. This creates a 9-member board that will cover those issues as well as some issues from fire. During the ordinance review committee, there was a request, and we placed it in here, that while the chief building official and the fire marshal will make recommendations as to the members of this board, that will then be communicated to each one of you, each one of the members here. You'll have a few days in which to comment if you want to try to have somebody else appointed to that position. If not, then the mayor can bring that appointment to the city council for their recommendation and approval. This streamlines our process. This is the process that both the chief building official and our chief fire marshal has requested be put into place. This is the basic jurisdiction of this group will be to hear certain appeals, but also to be able to give them recommendations when they come up with some difficult issues. It gives them somebody to turn to who have the technical expertise in the area, and that is really one of the things that both the chief building official and the fire marshal is looking for. The second so when you approve, you'll be approving those amendments to the ordinance. The second piece of this is we are now done with everything that this council gave to be done from the January meeting. We still have that list of boards, committees, and commissions that we need to look at on an individual basis. I want to make sure there's consensus from the council that we continue on with that process and we look at each one of those individually. As has been requested, we'd only do about 1 or 2 of those a council meeting, so we're not here all day just looking at boards, committees, and commissions, but we'll work through those if that is what the council would like to do through the rest of the year. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
There's the committee that has the 7
9 members.
9
Yes.
technical experts.
Right.
I'm curious, how many of the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, the other engineers, do we actually have living in Midwest City that would be willing to serve on a committee like
I
that?
cannot say specifically that. I can tell you as of right now from the chief building official, they have commitments for either 5 or 6 of those positions right now that will probably be, if this is approved, obviously it takes 30 days for it to go into effect, and then we will bring those nominees, we'll work those nominees through the process that is here, and they will either come back either in April or in May to look at. I know with the fire marshal, he is trying to find if there's anybody here in Midwest City that meets his 2.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I know he has identified some that are not Midwest City residents, but would be able to fill those positions.
There's a lot of expertise on that board.
There
Will
is a
be.
lot of expertise in that
Right.
board. That is correct.
Move to
Thank you.
approve.
Can I'm sorry, I have a few questions. So a major change here is the recommendations are literally coming directly from the the 2 inspectors, right? Now, do either one of them have like a application, like an open page?
They haven't developed that process yet. That is easily a process that they could develop. Right now, going to Mark's question, they're trying to identify people who meet that criteria, who are Midwest City residents, who would also have an interest in doing this.
So, but in the future, I think the hope is that there would be a page somewhere on our website where the people can put in an application that goes directly to those 2 individuals.
And be able to give their
background, qualifications.
background and their credentials to be able to do
Beautiful.
this, yes.
Now, and then the language right there is if council has 5 days to respond to a potential nominee or, suggest an alternative, would that communication go to the mayor or would it go to the 2 inspectors?
At this time, I believe it would go to the 2, it would go probably to all 3, to the 2 inspectors as well as the mayor, to let the mayor, because this information is going to go to the mayor as well. He's the one who's going to be looked at to nominate. So it would be that it would go back to the 2 inspectors as well as the mayor.
so-
And then those either one of, or both of those inspectors could reach out to that person.
So those inspectors would really have the authority to say, hey, I'm going to withdraw my nominee because this person maybe has more
Right,
qualifications?
or, you know, we're gonna look at the nominee from the, board, from the council and ask that that one be put forward. We've talked to them, they meet the criteria, they're really interested, they're Midwest City residents, they're in a certain ward, let's put that person forward. They just didn't know who that person was there at that time.
Particularly with the application piece, do you believe that we need to articulate that in the ordinance?
I don't believe so. I believe that's a policy and procedure that we can implement by just, city officials.
Second.
I have a thought. Going forward, in reviewing what you had in the packet, there was the consistency, you know, that's mine. the
Right.
consistent, nominating and appointing.
And we're going to look at that consistency specifically for the rest of the ones that were not highlighted. This one we looked at uniquely because of the technical expertise that we needed. And it was the recommendation of Vice Mayor Byrne that we actually take this approach on this one specific board because of the need for that technical expertise. And then that way our chief building official and our fire marshal can look at those and vet those people and bring forward somebody they believe can fulfill that role.
And I really do appreciate all the work that you guys done on this, because I think it's so important. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Eads, I would like for you to amend your motion to include Mr. Mich's request on moving forward with the rest of the. Well, her motion.
Her motion will suffice, and then once we get done with the motion, you guys can just let me know what direction you want to go, and we will move it from there. So her motion is fine.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Last thing, is it the consensus to move forward with the list,
Yes.
those that are not highlighted being next? We will start working on those. Thank you.
Point of personal privilege.
I think the motion passed. We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council?
Point of personal privilege.
Seeing or hearing none, we're here.
Second.
Good Lord, behave. We're hereby adjourned. And yes, ma'am, we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.
Thank you.